Nobody cares about your struggle. Not the sleepless nights, not the sacrifices you never talk about, not the battles you fight in silence. The world doesn't pause to listen. It keeps moving. And that truth hurts, but it's also freedom. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is impressed by how hard it was. They don't see the pain. They see the position you stand in after the pain. The world doesn't reward effort. It rewards results. You can explain your struggle 1,000 times, or you can build something that explains it for you. Your excuses sound loud in your head, but they are silent to the world. Discipline, however, makes noise. Consistency leaves evidence. Every day you show up tired when no one is watching, you are shaping a version of yourself that explanations will never reach. Nobody cares about your struggle because the struggle is yours, and that's exactly why it matters. Stop waiting for recognition. Stop asking for understanding. Build in silence. Train when it's uncomfortable. Work when motivation disappears. Because one day, the same world that ignored your pain will stand quietly in front of your results. No applause for effort, no sympathy for the process, only respect when you become undeniable. Nobody cared about your struggle, so make them remember your standard, not the story, not the excuses, the discipline you never broke. Standards are built in isolation, when quitting feels reasonable and continuing feels irrational. This is where most people negotiate with themselves. You didn't. You showed up when it was inconvenient. You stayed consistent when it was invisible. And that consistency became a signal, a quiet warning. Because standards don't ask for attention, they command it. Long after the struggle is forgotten, your standard remains. Not because you demanded respect, but because your actions left no alternative. This is how legacies are formed, not loudly, not quickly, but permanently, not because you chased recognition, but because you refused to lower the bar when no one was watching. Permanence is built in repetition. The same standard, on good days, on exhausted days, on days where quitting felt justified. Most people perform when observed. You performed when it was silent. And silence is where real identity is forged. This is why your standard outlives your struggle. Pain fades, effort disappears, but standards, they remain. They become expectation of you and eventually of others. Because once a standard is set, it doesn't need explanation. It becomes the reference point. This is how permanence works. Not loud, not fast, unavoidable. Because standards don't ask permission. They exist, and everything else must adjust. The room changes when you enter, not from noise, from presence. Your pace becomes the reference. Your discipline becomes the ceiling. People don't question it. They measure themselves against it. That is the cost of permanence. You don't blend in. You don't explain. You hold the line, even when standing alone, especially when standing alone. Because what is unavoidable is not force. It is consistency repeated until resistance disappears. This is not motivation. This is alignment. And alignment, once achieved, does not fade. It sets the standard, and the standard sets the future. Not through intention, but through repetition. The future is shaped quietly. In habits, no one applauds. In choices, no one documents. This is where direction is decided, not in moments of motivation, but in moments of fatigue, because the standard you keep becomes the life you live. Lower it, and the future follows. Raise it, and everything else must rise to meet it. This is the responsibility of discipline. No witnesses, no shortcuts, only alignment between who you are and what you tolerate. And once that alignment is set, the future stops being uncertain. It becomes earned, not claimed, not demanded. Earned in mornings you didn't negotiate. Earned in evenings you didn't excuse. Earned by choosing the standard even when no one was counting. Because nothing that lasts is built for applause. It is built for weight, and weight requires structure. Structure requires discipline. This is why shortcuts collapse and standards endure. When the noise fades, the standard remains. And what remains defines you. No announcement, no explanation, only evidence, no speeches, no promises, just patterns repeated long enough to become undeniable. You don't convince the world. You let time do it for you. Because time exposes everything, excuses, intentions, discipline, and discipline, when sustained, leaves fingerprints everywhere. In your posture, in your pace, in your decisions. People feel it before they understand it. That's how standards communicate without words. The struggle is gone, the noise is gone. What remains is proof, and proof does not argue. It stands. Not because it was defended, but because it was built correctly. What is built on standards does not need validation. It holds its shape under pressure. Time tests everything. Motivation fades. Talent fluctuates. But standards reveal what was real all along. This is why your work speaks when you stay silent. Because silence is where consistency is proven, not announced. Long after the struggle disappears, the structure remains. Not as memory, but as expectation of how you move, of what you tolerate, of what you refuse to compromise. And once that expectation is set, the world adapts to it. You're no longer reacting, you are defining. This is not about being seen, it's about being solid. And what is solid does not ask to be believed, it stands. And because it stands, you no longer need to prove anything. Proof was never in words. It was in the days you repeated when no one rewarded you. In the standards you kept when lowering them would have been easier. This is what separates effort from structure. Effort tries, structure holds. And what holds becomes something others rely on, not because you ask them to, but because your presence removes uncertainty. You move with intention. You decide without chaos. That calm is not confidence. It is certainty built from repetition. And certainty doesn't rush, it doesn't explain, it simply continues exactly as designed. That is the power of standards kept long enough. They turn discipline into identity. And identity does not shake because it was not borrowed. It was forged through repetition, not reaction, through decisions made without witnesses. Identity built this way does not depend on outcomes. It holds even when the result is delayed, even when recognition never comes. This is why you move differently, not faster, but steadier. You don't rush progress. You sustain direction. And direction, when sustained long enough, becomes destiny. Not because you hoped for it, but because you aligned with it. Alignment removes doubt. And without doubt, there is no hesitation, only continuation, the same standard, every day. That is what makes identity unbreakable. It does not perform, it persists. And what persists eventually defines everything, not in a single moment, but across many quiet ones. The days that look ordinary are the ones shaping your future. Because greatness is not built in intensity, it is built in consistency. Intensity impresses, consistency transforms. This is why patience is a discipline, not a delay. You're not waiting, you are compounding. Every standard you protect becomes a boundary, and boundaries shape behavior. Behavior shapes identity. Identity shapes direction. And direction, repeated long enough, becomes your life. This is the architecture of permanence, quiet, intentional, relentless. No shortcuts, no collapse, only structure strong enough to last, and what lasts doesn't need permission to exist. It simply continues, exactly as built, and it continues, not because it must, but because stopping is no longer an option you recognize. This is when discipline stops feeling heavy. It becomes normal, not easy, but familiar. You no longer ask if today matters. You already know it does. Because the standard does not change with mood. It does not bend for convenience. It simply waits for you to meet it again. And you do, not with force, with alignment. At this point, effort is no longer heroic. It is expected. This is what mastery feels like. Quiet, controlled, no urgency, no fear of falling behind, because you are no longer chasing outcomes. You are maintaining structure, and structure, when maintained long enough, becomes freedom. Freedom from doubt, freedom from comparison, freedom from the need to be understood. You move forward without asking who is watching, because the work no longer belongs to the world. It belongs to who you decided to become, and that decision was made long ago. It stands, it continues, it lasts. Long after the noise fades, long after the moment passes, when attention moves on and the world looks elsewhere, what you built remains, not as memory, but as structure, in how you wake up, in how you decide, in how you respond under pressure. The days no longer feel random. They follow a direction set quietly years before anyone noticed. This is the difference between chasing progress and becoming it. You are no longer driven by urgency. You move with intention because the foundation is already there. And when uncertainty arrives, as it always does, you don't collapse. You return to the standard, the same one that carried you through silence, through doubt, through days that felt unseen. That is why it lasts, not because it was protected, but because it was practiced over and over until it became who you are. And who you are does not expire. And because it lasts, you stop asking how far you've come. You measure yourself by how steady you remain. Progress no longer feels dramatic. It feels grounded. You don't wake up chasing momentum. You wake up inside it. The work is no longer separate from who you are. It's woven into your routines, your standards, your silence. This is when growth stops announcing itself. It simply shows up in your decisions, in what you refuse to tolerate, in what you protect without hesitation. You don't need reminders of why you started. The structure remembers for you, and when life applies pressure, it doesn't expose weakness. It reveals alignment. You bend where you should. You hold where you must. That balance is not instinct. It's earned through repetition, earned through restraint, earned through standards kept even when they felt invisible. This is not the end of the journey. It's the moment the journey becomes sustainable, quiet, measured, enduring, because what you built was never meant to impress the moment. It was meant to survive time, and it does, and it lasts, even when nothing else does. When motivation leaves, when certainty fades, what remains is not emotion, but design. You built something that does not rely on how you feel today. It carries you on days you are strong and days you are not. This is the quiet advantage no one talks about. While others restart, you continue. While others search for direction, you return to what is already set. There is no chaos here, only rhythm, a pace you can sustain, a standard you don't need to renegotiate. This is why progress no longer feels fragile. It has weight, it has roots, and roots don't rush the surface. They grow downward first, unseen, unquestioned, until one day stability becomes visible, not as success, but as presence. You are still here, still aligned, still moving without urgency. That is endurance, that is maturity, that is what lasts when everything else moves on. And because it lasts, you stop needing endings. You stop waiting for a moment to declare arrival. There is no arrival here, only continuation done with clarity. You are not chasing meaning anymore. Meaning is embedded in how you show up, in how you keep your word to yourself, in how you maintain standards even when no one benefits but you. This is where life becomes quieter, not empty, precise. Fewer reactions, fewer explanations, more alignment. You don't feel the need to prove strength because weakness no longer negotiates with you. You've seen what happens when you stay long enough, when you don't abandon structure for comfort, when you don't trade standards for relief. The result is not excitement. It's stability, a calm you can trust, a pace you don't fear losing. This is what people mistake for confidence, but it's not confidence. It's familiarity with your own discipline. You know what you will do tomorrow, not because you planned it, but because you've become it. That's why it lasts, not as effort, not as motivation, but as identity lived daily without resistance. And identity like that doesn't need an ending. It simply continues, quietly, precisely, as intended.